After cutting the toe board out of the passenger side footwell, I thought maybe I could repair it, but it doesn't appear to be repairable. There's a big rust hole here, but also if you look and hold it up to the light, this panel is just Swiss cheese. I even tried a couple of repairs thinking that I could just fill in some of those holes, but it's too far gone. I thought I would just order the parts from the same place I ordered the driver's side parts from. However, the toe board was unavailable. No big deal, I thought. I'll simply order it from someone else on eBay. I found one for sale with the exact same picture of the stamped toe board for a reasonable price. So I paid the buy it now price and had it shipped. But when the item arrived, I received this. Not exactly what I was looking for. The seller was reasonable, so I returned it for a full refund and ordered it again, and the exact same thing happened. So I checked with the manufacturer, and sure enough, they didn't show as being available. So what options did I have other than to make my own? I did some research and found an article on hotrod.com about making molds to duplicate parts. I'll leave a link in the description below. It shows how a mold of the original part can be made from Ultracal 30. I was able to pick some up at the local ceramic supply shop. Ultracal 30 cement has a low shrinkage and high tensile strength.
It shrinks?
I made this form by taking pieces of corrugated cardboard and a manila folder and taping them together so that the Ultracal 30 could take the shape of the inside of the toe board. I used wax and a heat gun to fill all the pinholes so that it wouldn't leak through. I mixed up the entire bag of Ultracal 30. I took some of the leftover and made the form that I used in the rocker panel repair video. I let the form set up for about 45 minutes to an hour. You can see where the form sprung a leak in the top left corner. We removed the remaining pieces of the cardboard form and were able to easily remove the original toe board. This piece was still very warm, so I set it outside to allow it to cure completely for the next day or two. I'm worried about if I hammer on this, the way it's supported underneath is not flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in a kiddie sandbox supported by sand. I had this really old tin of turtle wax, and I figured I'd put a coat of wax on here. Why? I'm not really sure. Alright, I've been at work at this for about 10 minutes. I have my, I started with just a rubber mallet, and I wasn't making much headway, so I grabbed my air hammer here. I have a blunt tip 1-inch head on here, and I'm making some decent progress. One thing I noticed though is that you can see it's already chipping up the mold. So this isn't nearly as durable as I had hoped it would be, but maybe we can get at least something formed before this thing is completely unusable. Okay, a little bit more beating on this panel, and I trimmed away, you can see here, so I've trimmed away some of the pieces that, you know, aren't going to be part of it. I cut a notch in that edge so that it'll fold over easier, and you know, it seems to be coming along. I mean, you can see we're definitely causing some damage on here. I'm gonna get a brush and clean that off and make sure that there's no pieces in there. I thought that the air hammer was damaging the form, so I tried making a hammer head for the air hammer out of high-density polyethylene. It's the bottles with a number 2 on the bottom. I got a couple of old milk jugs and cut them up into small pieces. I heated up the grill and slowly added pieces of the plastic to a small glass cup I was using as a mold until I had it about 2/3 full of molten plastic. Then I just plunged the fitting for the air hammer into it and let it cool off. There's just an enormous amount of time hammering on the form and then hand hammering with a hammer and dolly and then back to the form, trimming off pieces and hammering some more. I think you get the idea. This just took a really long time. So this is the original piece that we cut out of the car, and this is the piece that we fabbed up before we painted it and prepped it for installation. We're almost ready for the final fitment of the toe board. Once that's welded in, all these surfaces will not be accessible. With that, we're going to seam seal underneath and hit it with some rubberized undercoating. Here is my floor pan, all painted up with zero rust. I've cleaned up all the edges where it's going to be butt welded on the flange. I've cleaned up all the paint that was on there and drilled holes for plug welds. I'm in the process of fitting the toe board into the car. At this point, I had to make a few relief cuts here before I install it. Once we get this installed, we'll weld all those up and grind them flat. Here's what it looks like with the toe board clamped in place with some butt weld clamps. Now we just need to clean up the edges and weld it in place. So here it is, completely welded in. You can see from the backside that we got good weld penetration. And of course, after welding comes grinding. And here it is, the finished product, completely installed. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. This project took a lot of time and effort, and although the results are really good, I'm not sure I would do this to a repair that was more visible if there were already reproduction parts available. I think the results would have been better if a more malleable material like aluminum were used rather than 18-gauge steel. The article that I referenced from Hot Rod was recreating all of his parts in aluminum, probably for this very reason. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below, and if anybody needs a 50-pound block of cured Ultracal 30, roughly in the shape of a passenger side toe board from a 1967 Fairlane, just let me know when you want to pick it up. I just happen to have one.